Allahu Akbar.
Bridge to bring America and the West, to the Muslim world, as we are, in fact, bringing the Muslim world to the West.
Partnership between America and Islam must be based on what Islam is, not what it isn't. And I consider it part of my responsibility as President of the United States to fight against negative stereotypes of Islam wherever they appear. But that same principle must apply to Muslim perceptions of America. Just as Muslims do not fit a crude stereotype, America is not the crude stereotype of a self-interested empire. The United States has been one of the greatest sources of progress that the world has ever known. We were born out of revolution against an empire. We were founded upon the ideal that all are created equal. And that includes nearly 7 million American Muslims in our country today, who, by the way, enjoy incomes and educational levels that are higher than the American average. Moreover, freedom in America is indivisible from the freedom to practice one's religion. That is why there is a mosque in every state in our union and over 1,200 mosques within our borders. That's why the United States government has gone to court to protect the right of women and girls to wear the hijab and to punish those who would deny it.
Abdul Rashid is a native of Mississippi. He's also one of the co-founders of the International Museum of Muslim Cultures. And he is also a blues musician. After all the things that we talked about, I asked Abdul Rashid if he would still be willing to go to the Muslim parts of the world with his guitar and play some music.
When will we see you on a tour across the Muslim world with your music?
Tomorrow, I hope. But I don't have any plans for it yet. If it happens, it happens. But, who knows?
Who knows where life takes you with your guitar?
I would love to take it across the planet, even to Jupiter and Mars, if possible. And I think sometime, I've seen so many things happen in my lifetime that Jupiter and Mars is not out of the question.
Okay.
In a very short time.
We'll start with the Muslim world first.
We'll start with the Muslim world. Any particular country?
Pakistan.
Oh, alhamdulillah. We'll do that. Set it up and we'll go.
We'll rock the city.
Yeah, for sure.
Rock the country.
That'll be great.
What would be your message to Muslims all across the world?
Keep the faith. Keep going strong. And we are now at the beginning of a new era. And let's be on the forefront of this era. Let's ask Allah for this knowledge and information that make us the victors, that make us the leaders in this new millennium.
And what about people here in the U.S. who are people of other faiths?
I think it doesn't matter. And I say this carefully, because a lot of people think that Obama should be a Muslim, okay? But I think those, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the Christians, the Jews, and the Sabians, all will have their reward from their Lord. So, but those who believe and do the right thing, that's what I'm hearing from the Quran. It didn't say you just gotta profess to be a Muslim, but those who believe and do the right thing, and some of the best people that I know are Christians. I'm just honest, with it. I mean, they kind of go off a little bit about Jesus, but I think eventually they'll come to the realization that there ain't but one God, and this is His creation, and everything in the creation, He made it or furnished the material.
And what you mean by some of the best people that you know who are Christians is that some of the kindest, with a good attitude towards other human beings, caring.
Caring, my mother, doing the things that Muslims are taught to do. Sometimes we say things and do something else, you know, but I know people are steadfast in their piety, their honesty, their forgiving, you know, and sometimes we as Muslims kind of hard-hearted about, you know, I'm not going to forgive him for this and whatever. But, and we see that really in the Middle East now. I know there's a war going on over there, but some of the things that is happening over there, I truly believe that is haram. You know, you mentioned it earlier, strapping a bomb on, and you know, and we know that when I read Al Quran, that's one of the things that you can never be forgiven for. So that's a straight trip to hell.
You said a while back that you want African American kids in the U.S. to know about this because it would help them understand their own diversity and cultural background and history. Do you think that is what the Muslim world needs to be reminded of? That, hey, hang on a second, you've got such an amazing historical background. You know, why don't you pick that up and move forward with that?
I think that is the core issue with Muslims across the globe, is because of the colonial era and all of those things that happened, because of the Inquisition, because of the Crusades. You know, there was a different kind of attitude that perhaps needed to be developed, you know, for fight and protection and all of that. And it really began to shape, you know, the ideas, you know, and it really grew a kind of culture that really moved away from, I mean, our scholars speak of this, that actually moved away from the original tenets, you know, of Islam. And Muslims, you know, are having to, you know, admit this. I mean, our scholars are admitting that, is that there has to be a reorientation and a re-education by Muslims in order to really be able to show that kind of example, you know, to the world, as well as to offer that, you know, to offer these new ideas. I mean, people, you don't expect that a Christian is going to take up the Quran and teach the Quran as a Christian. They'll appreciate it, and they have benefited. The West, I mean, one of the things that the More Spain exhibit, as well as this Timbuktu exhibit, has documented that these ideas, the idea of equality, the idea of freedom, many of the economic theories, even though, you know, this, you know, I mean, the economic theory has gone in another direction, but they actually were adopted, you know, by the West, you know, at the time. So they're utilizing, I mean, the scientific method and approach. These are ideas that was brought by the Muslims, that Muhammad brought through the Quran. And really, there are a lot of Westerners that are reading and garnering these ideas and building on these ideas, but they just haven't, they haven't accepted and embraced, you know, the religious, theological side of it. And that's, you know, that's what Muslims hold as inseparable. You know, like in the West, you know, you can separate religion, you know, from rational thought, you know. So, but the Muslim says that faith, you know, and reason, you know, have to be, you know, there must be a harmony. And so thus, if we as Muslims want to get that message across, then we're going to have to do the research, and we're going to have to establish the kind of scholarship, you know, in the intellectual discussions to get that across, you know, to the rest of the world.
So one day you think there's a possibility that you will take an exhibition from the US, let's say to Saudi Arabia, where you would exhibit the Quran that was used by Jefferson. Wow. Long
wow,
time
so you're
ago.
giving us new things. Yes, yes, that's what we're here for.
Do you think that would help people in the Muslim world understand that not everybody in the West is against them.
Oh, definitely. I think there's a real important need for that, you know, in this relationship, that bridge to bring America and the West, you know, to the Muslim world, as we are, in fact, bringing the Muslim world to the West.
So the next time you're in Jackson, Mississippi, just remember, there is an International Museum of Muslim Cultures that's just waiting to be explored. Imran Siddiqui, Muslims America, Urdu VOA.
Allah Akbar.
Bridge to bring America and the West, you know, to the Muslim world, as we are, in fact, bringing the Muslim world to the West.
Partnership between America and Islam must be based on what Islam is, not what it isn't. And I consider it part of my responsibility as President of the United States to fight against negative stereotypes of Islam wherever they appear. But that same principle must apply to Muslim perception empire. We were founded upon the ideal that all are created equal, and that includes nearly 7 million American Muslims in our country today, who, by the way, enjoy incomes and educational levels that are higher than the American average. Moreover, freedom in America is indivisible from the freedom to practice one's religion. That is why there is a mosque in every state in our union and over 1,200 mosques within our borders. That's why the United States government has gone to court to protect the right of women and girls to wear the hijab and to punish of America. Just as Muslims do not fit a crude stereotype, America is not the crude stereotype of a self-interested empire. The United States has been one of the greatest sources of progress that the world has ever known. We were born out of revolution against an